Moses said to the people, "Fear not, stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. But the Egyptian whom you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." It is Thursday, the second day of February 2023. Clive Welsh here, inviting you to join me for the reading of our devotional thought for today, and it's coming from the book Truth for Life by pastor and author Alistair Begg, and this is the second edition. Today's devotional thought is entitled Living by Faith, and the verses today, Exodus chapter 14, verses 13 and 14, and it reads, Moses said to the people, "Fear not, stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. But the Egyptian whom you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." That's Exodus chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. Alistair Begg writes, "When we live by faith, we discover this great truth. God's promises are enough." On their way out of Egypt, Moses and the Israelites were confronted by an insurmountable hurdle, the Red Sea. After striding over Egypt defiantly, Exodus chapter 14:8, God's people found themselves pursued and soon to be overtaken at the edge of the waters, and as Pharaoh drew near, the people of Israel feared greatly. In their terror, they cried out to the Lord and began to berate and criticize Moses. What would faith do in this situation? Exodus chapter 14:13 presents us with Moses' response to the people. "Fear not, stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord." What a dramatic expression of faith on the part of Moses. He had little going for him at this point. The Egyptian chariots are at his back, the sea stretches out ahead, and he is surrounded by complaints and criticism, and all he has is a staff and the command and promise of God. But that was enough for Moses. All of his trust and confidence rested in his belief in God's promises. If God has said it, Moses believed it, and God has said that he would bring the people out of Egypt to Mount Sinai at the opposite side of the sea and on into the promised land. Exodus chapter 3, verses 7 through 12. It was not Moses' job to be concerned over the particulars. It was his job to trust and obey. And the waters parted. When the Egyptians tried to pursue the Israelites along the path through the sea, they were engulfed, never to be seen again. Exodus chapter 14, verses 27 and 28. Why? Because faith and presumptions are two different things. The Egyptians were not living by faith in or in obedience to God. They had simply assumed that they would experience what the people of God experienced. They were wrong. If God said it, Moses believed it, and so can we, and so must we. We don't have to worry about whether or not God will part the sea, but we do have to take God at His word and act accordingly. Some of us have never known the joy of standing, as it were, on the edge of the dangerous waters and seeing God's deliverance, because we're so worried about how God is going to handle every little detail. We retreat in anxiety and hold back in doubt rather than standing firm. God has promised to take you to the promised land of eternity with Him. What is insurmountable to you and me is nothing to Him. And so He says, don't worry about the route by which you get home. I'll take care of it. Just do what I told you and trust in me. His promises are enough. It is your job today simply to trust and obey. It sounds so simple, and it is, if we simply trust and obey and remember who we're trusting in and who we're obeying. He's the same God that parted the Red Sea, and He's the same God that can part whatever difficulty you're facing today. So let's live by faith, let's walk by faith, let's believe in faith and trusting in the Almighty God who said it and He will do it. Well, Clive Walsh here, trusting that you are encouraged as I was by this devotional thought, living by faith, coming from the book Truth for Life by pastor and author Alistair Begg. And for those of you reading through the Bible in a year, your assignment is Isaiah chapter 32 and 33, as well as the Gospel of Mark, the entire chapter 8. May the Lord richly